It's our great fortune that His Holiness Rompa Swami Maharaj is here. He needs no introduction. He's been in the Krishna conscious movement more than 50 years. He's given classes, lectures in worldwide, many universities, many temple congregations, and he's dedicated his whole life to serving Srila Prabhupada. He's been the GBC member for ISKCON, and he's spread Krishna consciousness through his teachings, through his activities, and he's always keeps Srila Prabhupada in the center. So please give him a warm welcome by chanting Hare Krishna 3 times. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Maharaj.
It's on. Balaram Purnima. Have you had a night? Did you have a morning festival? I was in Alachua this morning, and even the announcements for all of what they did for Balaram Purnima took about a half an hour, describing what people did, the outfits and the garlands and the decorations and the cooking and the this thing and the that thing, and there's festivals there. It's a big deal. Big deal. I've been to many festivals over the years, and they have a nice way of celebrating festivals. The deities were outstanding. Balaram Jayanti, when I was in Alachua, I gave 9 classes on Balaram. Different topics on the topic of Lord Balaram. So this is kind of the introduction to the topic of Balaram. So we'll cover a range of things, not too much any one thing. No, it's okay. You can't hear? So one of these nice sources about anything in relation to Krishna, here Krishna Balaram, is Gopal Champu. Gopal Champu is a nice book written by Jiva Goswami describing Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and then the second part is Krishna's pastimes outside of Vrindavan. Here's from the Purva Champu, just cut and paste. The appearance of all the objects in Braja takes place in every kalpa, means day of Brahma. Since Braja is free of the touch of the bodies and minds of materialists, since it is filled with kadamba trees profusely glorified in the Varaha Purana, and since it is the abode of pastimes of eternal blissful Balaram, cows and cowherds described profusely in the Padma Purana and Skanda Purana, and since Vrindavan has special powers beyond the material realm, Braja is unlimited. And there's a little comment that says, sometimes Krishna and Balaram hold hands, laugh, and make others laugh. This agitates my heart. That's Jiva Goswami. And there they are, holding hands and enjoying each other's association. Srila Prabhupada writes about Balaram in Krishna book, chapter 2. Krishna book is summary study of the entire 10th canto, and he writes this right to the very beginning, chapter 2. One cannot attain the supreme platform of self-realization without being sufficiently favored by Balaram. Bala does not mean physical strength, must have the spiritual strength was infused by Balaram or Sankarshana. Now I came to know from visiting in India that there are some teachers, yogis, babajis, etc., that say you have to have physical strength, so they have classes in calisthenics and yoga for building your body strength. Some teachers teach like that. So Prabhupada is not directly referring to that, but he's indirectly referring. It doesn't mean physical strength. One must have spiritual strength for self-realization. Another nice reference is Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas, Krishna Sandarbha in this case. Some of you are familiar, some of you may not be so familiar. There are 6 Sandarbhas, this is number 6. They go through sequentially stages of spiritual realization and finally to Krishna Sandarbha. He writes in Krishna Sandarbha, Sankarshan, that's Balaram, or by the name that Sankarshan, the Purusha incarnation, entered the womb of Rohini. Listen carefully. Rohini was the mother of Balaram, but not the original Balaram appeared in the womb of Rohini, but the Sankarshan, the Purusha incarnation. And then the original form of Sankarshan, or Mula Sankarshan, or Balaram, entered the womb of Devaki, in case you've wondered how that worked. The original Balaram appeared in the womb of Devaki, and then within Rohini's womb, Purusha, Sankarshan, and Balaram joined to become one single Balaram. Interesting? The one is an expansion of the other. The original, from which the other is the expansion, is Balaram, or Maha Sankarshan, or sometimes referred to as Mula Sankarshan. The arrangement was, well, we'll get there. Vasudeva had a number of wives. Largely the number is indicated. We'll see some references. He had 18 wives. 18 wives. Well, kings had wives. And 8 of them were daughters of the same king. So Vasudeva married princesses that were daughters of a king, and they became his wives, and others from other sources. So Rohini was one of the sisters that Vasudeva married. And when Vasudeva and Devaki were put in prison, Vasudeva, still maintained relations with some of his wives, and Rohini was one of his wives. She became pregnant. And because of the atrocities of Kamsa, Vasudeva was concerned about her welfare. So while she was 4 months pregnant, Vasudeva, sent her, his wife, to the other side of the river Jamuna to be under the care of Nanda Maharaj, who was his very dear friend. So Rohini, the mother of Balaram, took shelter of Nanda at the request and direction of her husband, her husband. So for 4 months, she's in the womb of, Balaram is in the womb of Rohini, and then the 7th child of Devaki, you know the story, the 7th child of Devaki was Balaram. And then what did Krishna do? Krishna summoned Yogamaya, and she came, and Yogamaya was requested, I have 3 services for you. Yes, yes, please tell me. 1, please transfer Balaram from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. Remember? Now, she was already pregnant. Transfer Balaram from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. So when that transfer was made, the 2 Balarams became one Balaram. The one that was the expansion was in her womb, and the original was transferred to her womb. So they became one Balaram, as it says. They joined to become a single Balaram. And then 2 other services he gave to Yogamaya. I'm going to take birth as the 8th child of Devaki. I want you to take birth as the daughter of Yashoda. 2nd service. And the 3rd service is, when I'm born, this is the script, so he just followed the script. When I'm born, I'm going to be carried by Vasudeva to the other side of the river Jamuna, placed by the side of Yashoda when she's asleep, and you'll have a switcheroo. I'll be left with Yashoda, and Yashoda will think I am her son, and you're going to be brought back to the prison house of Kamsa. And Kamsa's going to think you're the 8th child of Devaki, and he's going to try to kill you, but don't worry, you're my Yogamaya, he won't be able to kill you. And when he fails to kill you, the next service is you'll be known throughout the land by various names, names of Durga. It's an important philosophical message that Yogamaya and Mahamaya, or Durga, are just different states or stages of this potency of Krishna. Durga, Shristi Sati Pralaya Sadhanir Shakti Rekha Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga from Brahma Samhita. She does lots of things under the direction of Govinda. So that was a service that she did. And then when Kamsa couldn't kill the female child, she flew into the sky, laughed at Kamsa, and said, the child that is going to kill you has already been born. Watch your backside. And she disappeared. So that's a little bit about the 2 features of Sankarshan and Balaram. Thus Balaram Sankarshan appeared. Now, the tattva of Balaram is described, as you know, in chapter 5 of Adi Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Just like we're doing a scan of who is Balaram. So the Balaram tattva is in chapter 5, and he's identified as Mula Sankarshan, as opposed to the expansion of Sankarshan. There's 2 expansions of Sankarshan. What are the 2 expansions of Sankarshan? The 2 expansions of Sankarshan are in Goloka. Balaram is Krishna's first expansion. Balaram expands into the Chatur Vyuha, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudeva. And then the first Sankarshan expands into Narayana in the Vaikuntha realm. Narayana expands into the second. It's called quadruple expansion. Sankarshan, Pradyumna. So in Vaikuntha, there's the quadruple expansion. Goloka, this is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the original, that's Balaram, who is Krishna's first expansion. Here's what it says in Adi Leela chapter 5. Sankarshan, Shesha, Naga, and the Vishnus who lie in the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his Mula Sankarshans, plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions. What does that mean? The Sanskrit phrases are angsa and kala. Can you not hear? Are you able to hear? Okay, good. I'm just worried. You can hear, right? Okay, good. Living entities are called angsas of Krishna, right? Mabe Vangsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Angsa is used right in Bhagavad Gita. Angsa means part. That's one of the translations into English. Angsa, the part. And there's a part of a part. When Vishnu expands into another feature of Vishnu, that's angsa, and then there's an expansion of that angsa becomes a kala. What does that mean? So the features of Vishnu that have a function in relation to material creation, those three Vishnus mentioned here, lying in the Karna ocean, so Karna Dakshayi Vishnu, Garbo Dakshayi Vishnu, Shira Dakshayi Vishnu, those three Vishnus have functions on behalf of Govinda to oversee and take charge of the creation of the material realm. So those are the portion of a plenary portion, or kala. A little education in Sanskrit grammar. And then the angsa is the form of Sankarshan in the Goloka realm and in the Vaikuntha realm. And Sheshanag, so there's Sankarshan, mentioned the first of these five, and Sheshanag, we're going to hear some more about Sheshanag in a moment. He's at the bottom of the universe, holding up the universe on his hoods. And the planets. Here's another reference. This is Lago Bhagavatamrita. There's a translation of it pictured or shown here. The image that's on the screen is Bhanu Swami's translation. Gopi Pranadhana Prabhu's translation. It's a BBT publication, where Rupa Goswami writes, Balaram is identified as one of the 21 Vaibhav avatars. In case you don't know what I had to look it up. So Vaibhav, this term Vaibhav means when there's one form differently manifested according to different emotional features, that's Vaibhav. Prakash, manifest in different emotional. So the Balaram has a specific emotion. He likes to serve Krishna. That's his favorite emotion. And so he's a Vaibhav avatar of Krishna because he's one of 21 Vaibhav avatars. Let's go to something we're more familiar with. What we're more familiar with is Canto 1, Chapter 3. Most of us are familiar with that. In Canto 1, Chapter 3 is an answer to one of the 6 questions asked by the sages of Naimisharanyaka Sutta. The question being asked was, please identify the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. That's what avatar means. So it starts with the Purusha avatars, the same 3. And then there's avatars of those 3. And Krishna and Balaram are listed as avatars of Vishnu. You all know this. And then there's kind of like And yet, of all those avatars of Vishnu, what is the source of all Vishnus and all avatars? And that's Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. Yes? Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam, that celebrated phrase. Canto 1, Chapter 3. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So, what this is saying, in Rupa Goswami is writing in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Krishna's original source, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna's original source, and he has different kinds of avatars. One of those kinds of avatars is Vibhav. Balaram is one of them. And Vibhav avatar is one form or feature differently manifested according to different emotional features. So Balaram, there's different ways of considering. Balaram has different moods. The primary mood is to serve Krishna, and that entitles him to be called Vaibhav Prakash, or Vaibhav Avatar. A little bit later in the same chapter is a nice verse where Rupa Goswami is explaining Balaram, whose angsa, remember there was a reason why I was speaking with angsa and kala. Angsa is a part. So Balaram has an angsa, or a part, that's Anantashesh. The first two, Sankarshan and Anantashesh, they're angsas of Balaram, the original Balaram. And the Vishnu forms are portions of the plenary portion. So, Balaram, whose angsa avatar Anantashesh resides in Patala Loka, who always carries a palm tree flag, this is Balaram. That is, when he's riding in his chariot, he's got a flag. And to identify who he is, he's got a palm tree on his flag. Arjuna had Hanuman on his flag, etc., etc. So it's just a standard. Who is eloquent? Balaram is eloquent. Who is decorated with a forest garland, who carries a plow, club, and sword. So he has 3 weapons. Generally it's plow and club. Who is decorated with blue garments, and who always wears on his head a jewel picture of Anantashesh. Now, I didn't know that till I read Laghu Bhagavatamrita, but he has a turban, and on his turban is a jewel picture of Anantashesh. And he resides in the spiritual realm. It's a nice description. And in the following chapter, so here's a detail that those of you who've been around for a while, you probably heard this. Just as Canto 1, Chapter 3 describes incarnations, Canto 2, Chapter 7 describes incarnations. You got to be able to see the screen. Can you see the screen through the back of your head? Thank you. Thank you very much. So there's a verse, Canto 2, Chapter 7, that describes Balaram and Krishna. And there's a rendering of that verse from Canto 2, Chapter 7, that says that Krishna and Balaram are white and a black hair of Lord Vishnu. Have you heard that one before? Yes. So he's not shy. Rupa Goswami addresses that. That is a translation, but it's not. The Sanskrit rule is when the meanings of a word are to be understood, the direct meaning is to be taken unless the direct meaning is wrong, and then only can one take a secondary meaning or another meaning besides what is maybe called the primary meaning. So I'm going to read the common translation that people often take, and he dissects it. Of Maha, yes, yes, yeah. Is it not that Krishna and Balaram, who appeared in the Yadu dynasty, are incarnations of the black and white hair of Lord Vishnu? And they seem to collaborate it by this translation of 2.7.26. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, just to diminish the distress of the world, a black and white hair of the Lord incarnate on earth, which is connected to this other passage. His transcendental glories, to expand his transcendental glories, the Lord acts extraordinarily. No one can properly estimate how great he is. So that's a translation, and the translation is based upon the meanings of Sanskrit words. So he deals with that rendering of the Sanskrit words, and it implies the rule, the direct meaning, the apparently direct meaning, there's a secondary meaning to Kesha. Here I read. The word kalaya means with great artistry, Sita means bound, and Krishna means very dark. The compound word Sita, Krishna Kesha, means he whose beautiful black hair is neatly tied. The word kalaya indicates that Krishna was most expert in all artists. So he's indicating the correct interpretation is, as you see on the screen. When the world is overburdened by the fighting strength of kings who have no faith in God, the Lord, just to diminish the distress of the world, descends in his original form with beautiful black hair tied neatly on his head. The Lord is most expert of all artists, and just to expand his transcendental glories, he performs many graceful and extraordinary pastimes. No one can properly estimate how great he is. So there's meaning A and meaning B. And some people like meaning A, and Rupa Goswami doesn't like the meaning of A, because the proper meaning is not that Balaram and Krishna are avatars of Mahasankarshan, or Lord Vishnu, or Mahavishnu, and he pulled out two hairs, a white hair and a gray hair, or black hair, and they became Krishna and Balaram. In this way, some persons argue that Krishna and Balaram are avatars of Vishnu, Mahavishnu, who had two hairs and became Krishna and Balaram. Now for us, followers of Lord Chaitanya, we hold Srimad Bhagavatam as the gold standard, or the Amala Pramana, or Amala Purana, or the spotless evidential source. Other Puranas, as you know, this is a little education. Other Puranas, there are 18 primary Puranas. Yes? I haven't lost anybody yet. 18 primary, 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. And 6 goodness, 6 passion, 6 ignorance. It's not that there's an ignorant Purana, it means there are strains or threads in those Puranas that are to inspire people who are inclined to that mode. But ultimately, the Puranas, in fact, all of the Vedas, are meant to take one to one place. Vedaish Jasayarvaraham eva Vedyo. That's the purpose of all the Vedas. So in the goodness Puranas, 6, one of those goodness Puranas, the 6, is not just with some traces of passion and ignorance, but it's Amala, or Vishuddha Sattva, not just Sattva. And that's Srimad Bhagavatam. So for us, the Supreme Court is Srimad Bhagavatam. And with Srimad Bhagavatam is very clear. It's not unclear. It's very clear. Although, as I mentioned, sometimes people that don't know all of this stuff, they say, look, right there, Krishna and Balaram are avatars of Vishnu. It's right there in the Bhagavatam. Read a couple verses later, please. And of all those avatars, one is the source of all the avatars. Here's a very simple explanation. Most of us came through the front door. Before we get into the house, most of us came through the front door. Did we exist before we came through the front door? Yes. Did Krishna exist before he became an avatar of Vishnu? Yes. And he's the source of Vishnu and all the avatars. He made his appearance as if an avatar of Vishnu, no problem. But he existed before even Vishnu, or before the material creation existed. And the Vishnu forms are because the question was the forms of the Lord as they appear in this world. And the first 3 in the list of avatars is the Purusha avatars. Is it clear? Should I do it again? You want me to do it again? Do it again? It's important. It's important to understand Balaram. It's important to understand Krishna, Balaram. There's a source. Aham Bhagavad Gita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matak sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam bhutabhava samanvit. So Krishna is the source of everything. Sarvasya means matter, spirit, everything. He's the source of everything. And then he says it backwards. I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me. Checkmate. So there's not multiple sources of everything. There's one source of everything. The Bhagavatam similarly is very clear. There's one source of everything. What's that one source of everything? Sarva Karana Karanam. Govinda. Ishvara Parama Krishna. Satchitananda. So Krishna is the source. Now, what about all this avatars of Vishnu stuff? Krishna's the source of avatars of Vishnu. Although he may appear, as identified in the Bhagavatam, as if an avatar of Vishnu, but he's the source of Vishnu. And all the avatars. And in fact, everything. Because he's the source of everything. So that's the proper understanding. Now, this little discussion that we just spent some time with is some people like to say, and Rupa Goswami takes it head on, some people like to say Krishna and Balaram are white and black hairs of Mahavishnu, and therefore they're avatars of Vishnu. The Mahavishnu is the source. Some people like to say that. And so he's taking that rendering on the authority of Srimad Bhagavatam and turning it around. And here's what the proper understanding of that particular verse from Canto 2, Chapter 7. Is that okay? Okay. And he, Balaram, is the son of Rohini. Of course, that's a Leela. And here we go. Rohini married Vasudeva, who had 17 additional wives. That means 18. Well, don't say wow. After 3 months of pregnancy, I said 4. Rohini was sent by Vasudeva to Gokula to remain under Nanda's care. The 7th child of Devaki was Balaram, who was transferred to Rohini's womb before his birth. Lord Baladev remained in the womb of Rohini for 14 months, awaiting Krishna's appearance. So Balaram appeared, and then shortly Krishna is going to appear. But he was just, because he wants to be the elder brother, but they want to be like the same age. But the elder brother. We find in Srila Prabhupada's Purport, Canto 1, Chapter 11, Vasudeva, this is confirmation of 18 wives. The father of Lord Krishna had completely separate residential quarters where he lived with his 18 wives. Same chapter, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Vasudeva actually had 18 wives. Now again, Canto 10, Chapter 84, there's this Kumbh Mela. They all came together, Kurukshetra, for the solar eclipse, both from Dwarka and from Vrindavan, and they met. And the BBT translation of this verse, after Vasudeva, there was a festival, some rituals that Vasudeva was undergoing. After his eyes had been decorated with black cosmetic and his body smeared with fresh butter, the priest initiated him according to scriptural rules by sprinkling him and his 18 wives. And why am I going through this? Because there's some other references to say other things. What do you do when you run across something like that? Here's a detail from 9th canto. 7 of these wives, including Devaki, were sisters, daughters of Devaka, who was one of the 2 sons of Ahuka. Ugrasena was Devaka's brother. Ugrasena, the king of the Yadu dynasty, whose son was Kamsa. So Kamsa imprisoned his father, Ugrasena, along with Vasudeva and Devaki. The remainder of Vasudeva's 11 wives, so 7 plus 11 makes 18, came from other parents than Devaka. Here's a list of the 7. Devaki, Pauravi, Rohini, Bhadra, Mandira, Rochana, and Ila, and others were all wives of Anakundundubi or Vasudeva. But another name for Vasudeva was Anakundundubi because it means when he was born there was this big proclamation, he'll always tell the truth. So big music and big festival and big celestials making all this noise. So he became known as Anakundundubi, the man who will always speak the truth. And among those 7, Devaki was the chief. Now, I put in blue letters, Pauravi. Here's why. Canto 3, Chapter 1, Lord Krishna's father, Vasudeva, had 16 wives. Different number, right? This is purport, not verse. And one of them, named Pauravi or Rohini, the mother of Baladev, was the sister of Vidura. Now we know who was Vidura the son of? Who was the father of Vidura? Vyasadeva. Did you know? I didn't know that there was also a daughter. You know, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, and Vidura, 3 brothers, sons of Vyas. Pauravi, the sister of Vidura, puzzle. Don't ask me to solve that puzzle. It's a puzzle. Twins? Who?
Probably a twin of
I don't know that.
I'm asking this question is that in the Mahabharata, that after Vidura was born, so the first one was born blind, the second one
Yeah.
was born with Lupadharma, and so
Vidura was the,
Satyavati was not satisfied with that, and she asked for the third time, and she sent the servant girl, and now therefore Vidura
Yeah.
ended up becoming a Sudra. So Satyavati asked Vyasa, well, you need to do this again. And then he
Number
said,
4?
no more, I can only do it 3 times, and after that it goes against, I'll become corrupt. So so he refused, so he would not do it beyond
Yes,
that.
right.
So if there was an extra child, it had to come through the same conception.
Okay. That's logic. But is there any reference in Mahabharata or anywhere that you know of that there was also a daughter? No. Okay. That's what I'm getting at. So there's some inconsistency that I see. It's a surprise, at least. 16 is the inconsistency, and Pauravi or Rohini was the sister, because elsewhere it says she's one of the daughters of Devaka. I'm bringing this out because, everybody likes controversy.
14th century Sri Vaishnava Acharya called Vedanta Deshika.
Vedanta Deshika.
And he explains when you see all these
Discrepancies.
that superficially are not reconcilable, you have to understand that it's Krishna or Bhagavan showing whoever Vyasa or whoever is looking through
The future.
the Vedic, looking at what happened through the eyes of yoga, that they were shown different kalpas. So there are differences because of karmas of the jivas in there are different, and it won't be identical. It'll be close but not identical.
For the persons in this room, Vedanta Deshika is like numero uno authority in Sri Vaishnavism. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
That was his explanation.
Yes, I didn't know that he said it. It's a familiar explanation. It's our acharyas, Gaudiya acharyas, explained similarly, without going into detail, but a nice explanation. Here's similar from the same purport. Vasudev's sister Kunti, we know they were brother and sister, was the wife of Pandu, Vidura's elder brother, and in that sense also Vasudev's brother-in-law. Vasudev was brother-in-law to Vidura. Kunti was younger than Vasudev, and it was the duty of elder brother to treat the younger sisters as daughters. Whenever anything was needed by Kunti, it was munificently delivered by Vasudev, due to his great love for his younger sister, who was like his daughter. Vasudev never dissatisfied his wives. At the same time, he supplied the objects desired by his sister. He had special attention for Kunti because she became a widow at an early age. That's just some of the family tree discussion. A little bit now about the name-giving ceremony. This is Gargamuni. There's some details I'm going to skip because of time. Nanda was advised by Vasudev, you better watch out. Kamsa is very cruel. So he went to a private place for the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram because it's appropriate. But he went to a cowshed because if Garga Muni did the name-giving ceremony, then Kamsa could do 2 + 2 really quickly. So it was done privately in a suitable place. You see in the background, there's the cowshed. And here's the name-giving for Balaram. This is Balaram Jayanti. This child, the son of Rohini, will give all happiness to his relatives and friends by his transcendental qualities. Therefore, he'll be known as Rama. Because he will manifest extraordinary bodily strength, he'll be also known as Bala, and thus Balarama. Because he unites two families, Vasudev's and Nanda's, he'll be known as Sankarshana. So, Bala, Rama, and Sankarshana. Rupa Goswami writes, he describes the form of Balaram in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. I take shelter of Baladev, Anabiya Pralamba. On the edge of his cheek dangles one earring. See on his left cheek, the earring. The lotuses decorating his ears are covered with bees. His tilak is made of musk. On his broad chest shines a gunja berry necklace. His complexion is as white as an autumn cloud. His cloth is blue, his voice is deep, and his arms hang down to his knees. And another book written by Rupa Goswami, Laghu Bhagavatamrita, he describes Balaram as having complexion white as camphor. And he always dressed in garments dark as a rain cloud, similar to the complexion of Krishna, his garments. Now, he and Krishna, we because his appearance is slightly, just some number of days before Krishna appeared, they grow up arm in arm, the dearmost of friends. And while they're eating like little children will sometimes do, they're not so much interested in eating as looking into each other's eyes and enjoying each other's company. And as they grew up, they would be very playful. This is a very nice pastime. Krishna would sometimes go into the pasturing ground and grab a tail of a calf and pull the tail, and the calf would panic and run, and the gopis are up in arms. No, don't get hurt. And Krishna's smiling and laughing because he just wants to go for a ride. And Balaram would follow the same. There were cohorts in crime, Makanshore crime of stealing butter. And there the gopis in the background, a little pretty hard to hide because they're both effulgent. And in Purva Champu of Gopal Champu, we already mentioned Purva Champu, there's this very nice description. Yashoda has affection for Krishna, of course, but she has unique affection for Balaram. Here's what it says. It's just beautifully written. Yashoda touched Balaram's back with her left hand, touched his chin with her right hand. With tears in her eyes, she spoke to Balaram. O child wearing blue cloth, your mother has not shown such affection for you from your childhood as I have. She remains as if neutral. How can I reduce my unsettled nature? Therefore, I'm giving you an instruction. Immediately go on the path with Krishna. She's not one-upping Rohini. She's just expressing her heart. She has very special affection for Balaram, naturally so. Another book written by Rupa Goswami, already mentioned, is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, one of the topics is the different rasas. Our common language is Sakya rasa, but there's also the term that Rupa Goswami uses, Preyo Bhakti Rasa, interchangeable. And amongst those, there's differences. And Balaram is a little in the category of a little older than Krishna, and therefore, as a Sakya, or friend, he is Surit. And therefore, he has a touch of Vatsalya Rasa in his dealings with Krishna, which will come out later. Yesterday evening, I was asked to speak about in Alachua about the ways in which the ways in which Balaram served Krishna. And one of the ways in which Balaram served Krishna was apparently in opposition to Krishna. Because Balaram complained to Mother Jasoda and the other cowherd boys, Krishna's eating dirt. Now, whether Krishna ate dirt or didn't eat dirt, there can be arguments one way or the other. But why would Balaram say that Krishna ate dirt? Because Krishna said they're liars. I didn't eat dirt. If you didn't eat dirt, then open your mouth, I want to see. And it's part of a pastime. So Balaram served Krishna in an apparently contradictory way to facilitate Krishna's Leela. He likes, and Krishna likes. Krishna likes when those who are very intimate devotees take apparently contradictory positions. Radha does that. Balaram sometimes does that. More on this Preyo Bhakti Rasa or Sakya Rasa, in which Krishna became Krishna and the devotee partake in the sweetness of one type of love, nourishes astonishing bliss in the heart. This is Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. In Priti Rasa, that's as the servant, and Vatsalya Rasa, Krishna and the devotee's love are of different types. For this reason, those devotees devoted to Sakya Rasa understand that this Sakya Rasa is the best amongst all the rasas. Of course, there's this Prabhupada often repeated verse. When Sukadeva Goswami is describing the cowherd boys, who can say how many lifetimes of austerities they've undergone to be play friends of Krishna, after describing their activities and playfulness and intimacy and wrestling and thising and thating, and how fortunate are these cowherd boys? Who can say how many lifetimes of austerities they've undergone to become so intimately connected to Krishna? And that's what Rupa Goswami writes, that it's not just the cowherd boys, but the cowherd boys, as far as they're concerned, if they're given the option, would you like another rasa? Sometimes devotees ask this question, can you change rasa? Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada that question once. Do you know that? Tamal Krishna asked, is it possible to change rasa? And Prabhupada said, in the spiritual world, everything is dynamic, not static. That was his answer. And on the other hand, Rupa Goswami is saying that this is the best. The Sakya Rasa cowherd boys, this is the best. I mean, who can get... However, a celebrated Vaishnava who gave a whole biography about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this celebrated phrase, Ramya Kachit Upasana Vraja Vadhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. There's no conception of worship better than the damsels of Vraja. Vrajavatu Vargena. That's the best upasana. Krishna has friends, his cowherd boy friends. The friends in Braja suffer from not seeing Krishna even for a moment. We hear messages like this about the gopis, but the cowherd boys are the same. They play with him at all times, and their very life depends on Krishna. For this reason, they are considered the chief among all the friends. Jiva Goswami comments. This is from Rupa Goswami's writings. Jiva Goswami comments on that phrase. Krishna awarded the cowherd boys his association being controlled by his own prema for them. Now, sometimes it's said the opposite. Krishna is controlled by the love of his devotees. Jiva Goswami is saying Krishna is controlled by his prema for his loving devotees. It's two ways of saying the same thing. When Balaram and the other boys saw that Krishna had been devoured by the gigantic duck, they became almost unconscious, like senses without life. So Balaram, here's the painting where Krishna is being swallowed, and Balaram almost fainted because he's so attached to Krishna. He's omniscient. How can he faint thinking Krishna's in trouble? And there are times when he does think like that at all. But sometimes he thinks like that. And that's just part of his ecstasy in love for Krishna. So when Krishna saw the cowherd boys fainting like that, he then knew what to do. But it was part of stimulating their love for him that he was caught in the beak of Bakasura. So then he bifurcated, grew big and made himself really hot and bifurcated the beak of Bakasura, and everyone was okay again. And there's a similar circumstance, as most of you here know. During that time that the Aghasura demon was killed, the cowherd boys then went to have lunch. Balaram wasn't there. It wasn't Balaram Purnima. It was, according to the Acharyas, it was the moon was passing through the nakshatra under which Balaram was born, and so he was back with Nanda and Yasoda having a little festival for his birth star. So he wasn't there. And when he wasn't there, then this pastime of Brahma stealing the calves and cowherd boys, etc., 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 and then Krishna manifesting himself as the calves and cowherd boys for 1 whole year to facilitate. The mothers wanted Krishna as their son, the cows wanted Krishna as their calf, so Krishna became the son of the calf. And it's pretty astounding. What mother doesn't know who their son is? But he was such a good reproduction, they didn't even recognize it wasn't their son. But they felt the affection towards Krishna, towards their son, like they felt toward Krishna. They were astonished. And nearly a year passed of earthly time. This is during they're still herding calves. So this is still during their Kaishora age, before the Poganda age. In other words, he's 5 years old before he becomes 6. So between the end of 4th year and the beginning of the 6th year, for 1 whole year. Balaram didn't even know what's going on. And then towards the end, the Yogamaya curtain pulled back and he could see this and he could see that. He did the math real fast. These aren't cowherd boys, these are Krishna. And he was appreciating how wonderful is Krishna. But in other words, Yogamaya sometimes facilitates Krishna's pastimes even in relation to Balaram. Like the Bakasura example or this example. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami makes a reference to Skanda Purana. Krishna, along with Balaram, surrounded by the boys of Braja, plays eternally in Vrindavan. with the cows and calves, which means, practically speaking, when Krishna's pastimes are withdrawn, the eternal associates of Krishna that take part in his pastimes in Braja, they enter into their uppercut feature. The pastimes are still going on, but they're not manifest for people to see or participate in, unless you're in this very, very, very advanced stage, like some of our acharyas are, where they can enter into they can not only see the pastimes, they can enter into the pastimes and participate in the pastimes in the uppercut feature. Rupa Goswami being one such person. Others so as well. Another reference, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Balaram's friendship. Today is my birth tithi. Therefore, my affectionate mother has kept me home in order to bathe me. Subal, tell Krishna that I said he should by no means go to Kaliya's lake today. Jiva Goswami's comment. This is not the yearly birthday, but a monthly day when the moon enters his birth constellation, because of on his actual birthday, which would be a big celebration, Krishna would not go out. It should be understood that the message could not be delivered quickly by Subal, who delayed going. Otherwise, as on previous days, Krishna would not have disobeyed Balaram on this day and gone to the Kaliya lake. So he went to the Kaliya lake and they had a pastime. And when Krishna was in the coils of the Kaliya serpent for a long time, a messenger got in a taxi. Because it takes a long time from where Kaliya, where the river Jamuna is, all the way to Nandagram. It's quite a distance. Anyway, they traveled that distance and told Nanda and Jasoda, come quickly. Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent, help. And they panicked. Balaram just smiled. Because Balaram understood Krishna's having fun. Although Balaram gave this warning to Krishna, not don't go there. Krishna went. And when he understood Krishna's in the coils of the Kaliya serpent, Krishna's having fun. And when they saw Nanda and Jasoda reach the Kaliya lake and they saw Krishna in the coils, they were going to jump in the river, Jamuna, to try to rescue Krishna, but it was so poisonous they would have died. Balaram, so very strong, he stopped them. Don't. They couldn't pass by Balaram because he's so strong. Bala. In the same chapter as the killing of Dhenukasura, this chapter 15 is a very nice chapter, section preceding Krishna and Balaram in the forest. Krishna's gesturing to Balaram, just see, this land of Vrindavan is glorified today. Your lotus feet have touched the earth and grass. Your fingers have touched the trees and creepers, and your merciful eyes have glanced upon the trees, hills, birds, and beasts. The gopis have been embraced by your arms. Now they're pretty young, but that's what the verse says. Even the goddess of fortune desires this. For all of these are glorified. Intimate associate, Krishna and Balaram, from the very, very, very get-go. Now this is in their Poganda age, when they're herding cows. This is, some of you have been to Govardhan Hill. And on top of Govardhan Hill, as you're going down the eastern side of Govardhan Hill, there's this structure, a pink structure on top of the hill. And it marks the place where Balaram was on top of Govardhan Hill, and he was viewing Krishna's rasa dance. He has different places where rasa dance occurs, and one of the favorite places is the southern part of Govardhan Hill. And he was viewing the rasa dance of Krishna from that nice vantage point, and he was so stunned, his crown fell off. And this structure, Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj gave these photos to me because he found a local Brijbasi that would go up the hill, because he wouldn't go up the hill to take the pictures. And he somehow got his camera back. He probably paid the guy a few rupees. So this is what the structure looks like from the inside. Here's what it looks like, or from the outside. Here's the inside. There's the pujari decorating the place where they say this is where Balaram's crown fell. And there's another place. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj showed me the place. This is the Mukut Shila, it's called. And there's some flowers on top of the Mukut Shila. Here's another photograph, and another photograph, and another photograph showing the same Mukut Shila, where here it is said the crown of Balaram fell because he was seeing the rasa dance of Krishna, and he was just so astounded. Lots of Mukut Shila photographs. So, generally speaking, when Krishna was performing rasa dance, he knew to make himself scarce. It was because it wasn't for him; it was a different flavor of rasa, so he knew. Raghunath Das Goswami writes this verse from Vilas Stava. When the Yamuna river would not come according to his order, Lord Balaram, angry Lord Balaram, began to drag it toward the ocean. Now the ocean and the Jamuna River are very far away, but that's what the verse says. With the edge of his plow. I mean, elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, he was going to make the river Jamuna into little rivulets. But here, Raghunath Das is saying, drag toward the ocean. I devotedly offer my respects to the wonderful Ramghat, nice place in Vrindavan, where even today all men may see the marks where Balaram began to drag the Yamuna. There's many paintings of this celebrated pastime. There's the Yamuna coming forward after recognizing that she made the big mistake. Jiva Goswami makes a comment. I didn't include it in the text here, but Jiva Goswami says the lady that came before Balaram was an expansion of one of Krishna's wives. One of Krishna's 16,108 wives was Kalindi. And an expansion of his wife, Kalindi, is the one who came before Balaram. And she offered prayers, and Balaram did the rest of the pastime. That's another full class discussing that pastime. In that same chapter 15, where Krishna is gesturing to Balaram, how the entire forest of Braja is honoring him. Same as the pastime of Dhenuka, Sura pastime. I'm not going to narrate the whole pastime because it's a whole class in itself. But the part that Balaram is involved with is when Balaram was the first to go into the forest. He shook the tall trees, and the fruits fell, made a loud noise. Dhenuka heard the loud noise. Who has come into my forest? So he came charging and did what the method of attack of asses or donkeys is to kick with their hind legs. So he tried kicking Balaram with his hind legs, no problem. Balaram grabbed his hind legs with one hand and tossed him and whirled him around and threw him into the top of the tree. And when he fell on the top of the tree, that tree crashed into another tree and made other tall fruits fell. The other buddies of Dhenukasura came running, charging to defend and protect Dhenukasura. They, both Krishna and Balaram, tossed donkeys into the treetops. Notice in the painting, there are some more donkeys coming through between the trees. And the other cowherd boys are just watching the fun. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has a lengthy description, which isn't here, but here's some of it. Dhenukasura represents, he has a whole, in Chaitanya Shikshamrita, he has a whole section that describes the demons killed by Krishna in Vrindavan represent certain anarthas in the path of bhakti. So Krishna is removing anarthas in the path of bhakti. Dhenukasura represents those who are grossly foolish, like hardworking beasts of burden. They want to enjoy the fruits of their labor by themselves and so do not want to part with them for the Supreme. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Dhenukasura also represents gross materialistic intelligence, ignorance of spiritual knowledge. There's a very long, very interesting section on that topic. He makes reference, Bhagavad Gita, those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion or partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender to me. So we're spending time on these two demons that in Braja, only two of the demons that were killed in Braja were killed by Balaram. One of them, the first of them, is Dhenuka. Dhenuka represents this, in simple language, mode of ignorance. And Pralamba represents the mode of passion. Now, Pralamba Dhenuka wasn't sent by Kamsa, he was hanging out in the tall forest because he didn't want people to come into the tall forest and eat the fruits. It says in the Bhagavatam, right in the verse, the cowherd boys said to Krishna, all the people in Vrindavan won't go because that have gone, he eats them. He was a bad guy. Pralamba was sent. He's in the list of those that were assisting Kamsa. Pralamba was sent by Kamsa to deal with Krishna. Now, he had a shape-changing capacity. He was a demon, but he made himself in disguise like a cowherd boy, but immediately Krishna recognized, this isn't a cowherd boy. The other cowherd boys were fine. Here's another boy with us, Haribol. But Krishna knew. And he, specifically the Bhagavatam says, he wanted to kill both Krishna and Balaram. And Krishna knew. He wanted to kill Pralamba. But he wanted Balaram to kill Pralamba. So what Krishna did was, as one of the activities of the day, the groups were divided into two, and they wrestled. And the system was whoever won was carried on the shoulders of the one who lost. So on the right, there's Krishna carrying Sridham. And some of you know who is Sridham. Radharani's brother. Radharani's brother, Sridham, and Krishna were real good friends. And regularly Krishna would wrestle with Sridham, and regularly Sridham would defeat Krishna. And it's in Nectar Devotion where Sridham says to Krishna, "You always lose. What kind of a big man are you?" And on the left, there we see Balaram carrying the club on his shoulder, plow on his shoulder, and Pralamba carrying Balaram. And they enjoyed this pastime very much, but when Balaram was being carried away from where all the other cowherd boys were, he thought, this is fantastic, just going for a nice ride. But something funny happened. He started getting bigger and bigger, and his shape changed from being a cowherd boy to this big demon. And then Balaram realized there's Krishna saying, don't let him do this. So with his right fist, one smack in his head, and he fell to the ground dead. And here it shows he's already fallen to the ground and he's smacking him again. And the cowherd boys in the background, and they're very happy because they realized this wasn't a cowherd boy after all, a gigantic demon. Pralambasura represents lusty inclinations, desire for personal gain and honor. Lusty can mean the sexual, but it can also mean lusty for labha, puja, pratishta. And I'm going to end with that and just make a comment. These two demons, few comments, these two demons that Balaram killed, according to the writings of our acharyas, when Krishna kills demons, that's it. Because Krishna's killed them, they get liberation. And when Balaram kills demons, specifically in terms of how obstacles on the path of bhakti can be alleviated by the killing of the demons, they represent that. Specifically with Balaram, because he's Guru Tattva, he's the principal foundation for Guru Tattva, that Balaram, assists us in removing these obstacles by instruction, because Balaram's function as Guru is to give Krishna, and he gives Krishna through sound. But the sound, the person who's receiving the sound has to hear the sound and apply the sound. That is to say, the instructions of the spiritual master there's something we have to do. And that's follow the instruction. Hear it and follow it. And then this primary foundational influence of passion and ignorance can be removed. I'll say the same thing in a different way. The pastimes of Krishna, have the effect that they can take away all impurity. Specifically, in the Rasa Lila section, there's a verse in the Bhagavatam that says, when these pastimes, Shukadev Goswami says, when these pastimes are heard from the proper source, from a qualified spiritual master, then although it appears to be the activities of boys and girls engaging in romantic activity, the tendency for lusty affairs can be eradicated just by hearing these pastimes from the right source. So it's the hearing from the right source principle that makes the capacity of the Guru Tattva principle, Balaram, the Guru Tattva principle, to relieve us from our contaminations, ignorance and passion. It's a detail, but it's an important detail. Balaram is Bhagavan, as much as Krishna is Bhagavan. And he has a function in relation to Bhagavan, Sri Krishna. And he delivers Sri Krishna. That's what the Guru Tattva principle is. He likes and he does. And then the recipient of that mercy that comes from Balaram, or Guru Tattva, is one has to receive it and has to act on it. There's something we have to do in our relationship with Balaram. So it's an important concept or philosophical understanding. And Balaram's appearance day is an important day for us to celebrate. And appropriately, it comes before Janmashtami. So that's our little discussion on, whoops, there we go, Balaram Jayanti. Yes. No, it's where the speaker is.
Hare Krishna.
That's okay. Didn't scream.
Great. Okay, Maharaj. Thank you so much for your association and the class. Balaram is underrepresented, I think, in most people's spiritual world. I mean, of course, we say Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, but for some reason, we have Radha and we have Krishna and we have all the female, and he gets a little short shrift. But I've always wondered how best to approach Lord Balaram, because I know, just like Baladev is a conduit and Lord Nityananda is a conduit, and you can't really approach Krishna without Radharani and Balaram, and so I appreciate this so much, and anything you can tell me in a way of humbly being able to forge a stronger relationship with Lord Balaram, I would certainly appreciate. Hare Krishna.
I'm pausing. For us, the medium of Lord Nityananda is primary. In practical terms, the age that we're in, it's practical. And he's especially merciful. And I want to amplify that this way. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur discusses this principle that's found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Radha is also representing Guru Tattva. It's in that whole chapter in Adi Lila about Radharani. So Bhaktisiddhanta writes, everyone must approach Lord Chaitanya or Krishna through Lord Nityananda. And that's the Balaram Tattva principle. However, amongst those who are identified by Lord Nityananda to Srimati Radharani, that this is a specially qualified person, that one who gets the recommendation of Lord Nityananda gets Radharani's direction and disclosure and confidential understandings, in addition to what Lord Nityananda gives. It's not exactly what you're asking. So you wanted, your specific question is how to strengthen your understanding and connection with Balaram.
You told me to strengthen my connection with Lord Nityananda.
Yes, that's what I did. Okay, very good. Yes. Yeah, just speak. Original. Well, I don't exactly understand it either, but it's a pastime. It's a pastime. You changed the volume. It's the pastime. So why have pastimes? Well, there's an expansion. There's a function of that expansion. The Sankarshan expansion. Let's go back to. Purusha incarnation. Purusha incarnation. So it's once in a day of Brahma, Krishna appears. Before Krishna appears, Balaram appears. And before Balaram, the original Balaram appears in the womb of Devaki. However, for Leela purposes, Rohini is the mother. So it's not two Balarams, it's the Purusha incarnation first appears in the womb of Rohini. For the Leela purpose, Rohini is sent away to be safe away from Kamsa. And Devaki is part of the Leela. The seventh child is the original Balaram. And then it's Krishna's arrangement, not Vasudeva and Devaki's arrangement, it's Krishna's arrangement, transfer Balaram to the womb of Rohini. So Balaram, the original Balaram, takes birth in the womb of, so because it's the eighth child of Devaki. They're the first six sons that were killed. And there's a connection from some previous life. And then number 7, it's just Leela. Could be Krishna, could be the seventh child of Devaki, but it's the eighth child of Devaki. The voice from the sky was whoever the voice from the sky was, telling Kamsa. So it's a Leela. And so Rohini becomes the mother so that Balaram and Krishna can be both away from Kamsa and be in Vrindavan and do their playful activities in Vrindavan until he's brought to the western side of the river Jamuna, and then it's pastime. So Rohini can be the mother. And it's this other phrase when the name giving was given, Sankarshan, he'll be known as Sankarshan because he's uniting the family of Vasudeva and Devaki. And Rohini, Nanda and Jasoda. He's binding the two. So it's a pastime. So your question is, why pastime? There's a pastime purpose, the connecting of the two families. They were already friends, but now they're more than friends. They're just Nanda and Jasoda raising on behalf of Vasudeva, raising their children this way. No, Vasudeva knew about Krishna being transferred, but Nanda and Jasoda didn't know. And later they came to know when Krishna rescued them and the whole thing. It's pastime. And so the purpose is churning of transcendental emotion. Krishna's emotion is unlimited in variegatedness, and the devotees have their emotion in relation to Krishna and Balaram. So it's churning those emotions. The pastime is for that purpose. Something else. Somebody way in the back raising your hand? You're just scratching your head. We have a balcony seats back there. Okay. Yes.
Thank you so much for the wonderful that. Thinking about the connection to Balaram is so far. So can I just say to you?
You can't have this again. You find out what the problem is and fix the problem. Not now, but before the next class. Thank you. Well, we had the reverse discussion. One Mataji in Elisha was asking, sometimes I pray directly to Balaram for strength to carry out my service, and then I start beating myself up, thinking, who am I, And the answer is, it's the instruction of, she's a Prabhupada disciple, it's the instruction of our founder and Acharya to pray to Balaram. So you can, but on the strength of, or through the medium of the instruction of the spiritual master, you will pray to Krishna, you pray to Balaram, you pray to the forms of the Lord on the strength of that instruction. There's a while we were in Alashua, there was this nice little morning walk conversation that Jayadvaita Swami reported, and it's listed somewhere, Prabhupada's Leela. There was a morning walk in Vrindavan, and Prabhupada was saying that if you have a problem, you bring that problem to your father. So you can go before the deity of Gaurnitai or Krishna Balaram. Sir, I have this problem. Please help me with this problem. And because he's fatherly, he will. We had this nice discussion. One devotee was saying, it's true. Like, in other words, because it's authorized by Srila Prabhupada to Jayadvaita Swami, meaning us, to his followers, then the pray directly is fine. So if you may feel Balaram is remote and spiritual master may be proximate, that's okay. But spiritual master wants you to make the connection with the personality of Godhead. And therefore that's the Maha Mantra, not just the Prana Mantra for our Guru. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Is there some what? For afternoon? Chant Hare Krishna. I mean, I'm not sure what the question is. Huh? Not sure what the question is. We engage in our devotional practices. We hear, we chant, remember. I don't know what they mean. Yeah, but it's not that there's something else we're just carry on with our devotional service. I don't know of anything, the afternoon of appearance day of the Supreme Lord, we're supposed to do something special, other than, it's all special. So the answer is not that I know of. Okay. Yes. Your voice is soft. Project. Yes. I don't have that kind of memory. What I can do is I can look it up and provide that list to Saranga Thakur, and he can. Yeah. Saranga, I'll find the list of the 8 she's asking. 6, 6, and 6. What are the names? So I'll find the list, send it to you, and you circulate it. She got this small body, and I ask her to be loud. Yeah. Yes. No, that's different. No. The energies of Krishna can take different forms. It's not like once upon a time there was the Mahamaya that Krishna summoned, and then she transformed into Durga, and then she's like gone. It's the energies of Krishna can manifest variously. Is that all right? You got something else. Yeah. But Durga has many forms and many names. And Yogamaya has many forms and many names. Don't put her in a box. And say, you got to stay in that box, honey. That's it. You have something.
I'm wondering if all the other saints that have manifest throughout the world, and they're written about in various different religious books and texts, if they're all in some way inspired or allowed that revelation from Krishna.
Yes. There's degrees of revelation, there's degrees of qualification, there's degrees of receptivity, there's the degrees of revelation.
I wish I could understand a lot of the words in text that we're going through. I guess I just have to familiarize myself more with the Bhagavad Gita, etc. But what is Krishna's outlook on reading other religious texts? I'm trying to understand.
There's one supreme. It's simple. The discussion can get very complicated, but the principle is simple. There's one source of everything, and according to time, place, and circumstance, different things are revealed to different receivers. There's one source of everything, and the signal is going out, and according to the receiver, then there's more complete or less complete understanding or realization of that source. There's not more than one source. The scripture, let's take these 3, Bhagavad Gita, Quran, and Bible. They're scripture, they're shastra, using the Sanskrit word. Prabhupada speaks like that because it's this descending from God. Now, People write it down, and guess what? They also edit it, like as simple as the Ten Commandments. It gets edited, you know. But the original source is the same source, and that which is being revealed is for the time, place, circumstance. Oh yeah. What does yoga mean? Yoga means linking with that source. And then there's categories of yoga. When you speak yoga, that's the physical yoga. Commonly, not necessarily, but commonly. But that's one part of an eightfold yoga system. That's one of the chapters in Bhagavad Gita. Ashta means 8. Anga means limbs. Ashtanga yoga is one of the yoga systems. It's one of the yoga systems. Chapter 6, Bhagavad Gita. It's one of the chapters of Bhagavad Gita. But yoga is linking with the Supreme. So you want to know, does yoga come from Krishna, or come from the same system? Yes. And then since you know a little bit about yoga, have you heard the name Patanjali? Yeah. Patanjali is an authority on the yoga system, specifically the Ashtanga yoga system, the eightfold yoga system. And in his system, there's also mantra. And in his system, what's the objective is realization of the Supreme. And there's practices. You use the same Sanskrit language, a practice, or abhyasa means to practice something. It has definitions. So practice has 4 elements. And he identifies what, by definition, it's a dictionary for yoga. He's the guy, Patanjali. But where did he get it from? He got it from the Vedas. And he's just a rendering of what's in the Vedas in a way that through the ages has become like a standard that people refer to. But his reference is the Vedas. And that's just one of the yoga systems. There's others. Sankhya yoga and other yoga systems. There's a philosophical yoga system. There's a karma yoga system. So there's different systems of yoga. So when you say yoga, the conventional is the contemporary yoga class. But that's not really what yoga is. It's a little sliver of the pie. It's not even a slice of the pie. Without the understanding of the background. Sure. Oh yeah. Well, that's a mouthful. Because through passage of time, there's lot gets diversified, and not all things carry forward from generation to generation. some things get distorted beyond recognition. Some things just drop out. You know, what's the original? Therefore, according to Bhagavad Gita, essential, not optional. Essential is disciplic succession. And like, let's say our generation, we're so far away from, you know, Patanjali, and then before Patanjali, the Vedic culture. But how to preserve it in essence is through this principle of disciplic succession. Is there such a thing in Christianity? Well, they have, you know, this, you know, St. Matthew's and St. Luke's and Lutheran and this Methodist, but it's even amongst those, it's the disciplic succession isn't as fundamental, and according to Bhagavad Gita, it's fundamental, it's imperative. And in fact, according to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, over a passage of time, when the disciplic succession gets fizzled or broken, Krishna comes and establishes it again, because it's so important. Now, what periods of time does Krishna come and do it again? Vast periods of time. But what maintains the thread is disciplic succession. So your question, you're pondering what, you know, what persuasion or what practice, and what fits me the most, what I feel most comfortable with and is going to help me the most. I would suggest disciplic succession is imperative.
The notion of Christianity that you can't earn your way towards God, that your actions aren't really going to make you holy. But here we talk about letting go of these inclinations towards wanting to feel pleasure or
Yeah,
one thing,
very fundamental.
money, wealth, money, and all of that. It makes it seem like your actions, having the right motivation from the inside to want to not keep to yourself,
Yeah.
look at the feel like you're have the confidence that you can give and not just talk about. Things like that's really important. When you're manifesting and thinking about a way to like purify yourself.
Yeah. You're at a very interesting stage. I'm just making a comment. I mean, an appreciation, because I very much relate to the stage that you're in. And to sort through is a big adventure. It's a challenge, but it's a big adventure. And as much as you can connect with principles that, as you just identified, some principles that make sense to you, connect those principles to standard teachings and standard practices of those teachings. And I think, I suspect you'll find more connection that you're looking for, that which not only resonates subjectively, but it's a science. It's not guesswork, it's a science. So you get the scientist that can tell you how the science works. And it works. And then somebody says something over here, and then something over there, and something over there. Those some things are valuable, but how does the whole science work? What's the comprehensive picture? I mean, I don't want to. For example, let's give for example. God created heaven and earth. Okay. Would you like to know how that happened? Yeah. Well, there's a science to it. And it's explained 4 different times in the Bhagavatam, for example. The unfolding of creation. Then it's not like God created heaven and earth, yes. Now, intuitively, there's got to be a source. To say just chance or other things like that, just like, come on, what happens by chance? So if it doesn't happen just by chance, and God's the creator, how does it happen? How does it unfold? There's a science to it, and it makes sense. From subtle to more gross to more gross to more gross, and putting the subtle and gross together, someone assembles it all. Brahma, and he has other people assisting him, and it's how things happen. So and it's consistent, and it makes sense. It's just how science works. The cause and effect of everything, and then there's original cause that has effects. And from those effects become causes of the next effect. And that's the system. And then it describes how it unfolds, step by step. We can't go back there and say, yeah, you can't do an experiment. Then hearing from authoritative source that makes sense. Although I can't experience it, I can't reproduce the creation. The principles make sense. We can see in everyday circumstances how it makes sense. Here's another little example. Transmigration of the soul, otherwise known as reincarnation. Where is that in the Bible? So, does it make sense? And the way, one of the ways, here she is, the restless one. She won't sit still. No way. For 30 seconds she'll sit there, and then she's going to get up and go somewhere. For example, so this reincarnation, from Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, it makes it a worldly comparison to an otherworldly, to otherworld reality. The worldly comparison is just as dehinosman yata dehe, the soul. So in the Bible accepts, Scripture accepts, there's a soul. Materialists don't accept. But we accept there's a soul. And it makes sense. And as the soul passes from this, in this body, from the baby body to the youthful body, to the young man's body, to the old man's body, the body is changing. You can say growing, but the body is changing more specifically. The baby body we once had isn't around anymore. You didn't just grow, it's gone. The cells in the body change every 7 years, so however many, times 7 you are, you say, supposing you're 28, you've had 4 bodies, completely different bodies, but you're the same person. It's a classic. The persistence of identity, even with changes. I'm still me. And then as that happens in this life, what's next? The soul passes on to another body. So what governs what's the next body? It makes sense. Karma, you earn the good or the bad from your choices that you make in this life, meaning that, your behaviors, and guna and karma. So anyway, it's very sensible. I can't prove it. There's lots of evidence that indicates it. Transmigration of the soul. There's hard scientific data that indicates there's a conscious entity within the body. Who can see one? You can't prove it. You can't disprove it. But there's a science to it. Anyway, I think you get the last question because we're going to end. You can speak loud, right? Yeah, I heard you. Here's what Jiva Goswami explains. When one is matured in spiritual life and is factually situated in their spiritual identity and they're experiencing rasa in that spiritual identity, they're fully satisfied, feeling this is the best. Subjective. They're not, I wonder what's around the corner. I wonder what that rasa is like. It's not like that. That's what he said. Then I added that other reference from Srinath Chakravarti, writing that from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's position, the happiness or the rasa, the love of the cowherd damsels in Braja is the highest. It's the highest. And there's explanation of why that's true also. Because that which is in the rasas before, it's included in their rasa and. Okay? Yeah. So we're going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.